We're joined by Vegas Larfield, puts his undefeated record on the line on this big Ace boxing show. So this guy's undefeated as well. So as they say in boxing, somebody's always going to go.
Yeah, that's right. We're both undefeated in the pros, and on the night it's going to be a battle of who wants it more.
But you feel as though you do your best, the result will take care of itself.
Yeah, 100%. I think I show up and display my best. I'll get the win any day of the week.
We've talked to your coach Ben Harrington. He sees this as a real challenge. This is another big stepping stone for you.
Yeah, I believe it is a big challenge. And Benny thinks that as well. The guy can box, and I plan on breaking him down.
What is your prediction? How will this fight go?
I think it's going to start off boxing, and then I think I'm just going to break him down and get him out of there.
And the Vegas Larfield story, it's one, you think, you started on the biggest stage, a debut for a young man on the big Horn Zoo card. That's where you made your debut, fighting in America, fighting these places. Like the bright lights is something that you've been accustomed to so young in your career. How have you personally, reflecting on that, how have you handled that?
I think I handled it well. The pro debut, I was very nervous, and then the very next one was at the MGM in Vegas on a big card. So the nerves were pretty high, but sort of just as I walked out, just as I was about to walk out, I really calmed my nerves and thought to myself, this is where I belong. This is where I'm meant to be. I'm here for a reason. And I just thought, it's just a fight at the end of the day. Well, I love fighting. Why would I be nervous? And then my nerves calmed, and I use that same tactic every time I fight now. And I'm meant to be here, and this is what I do.
In hindsight, wherever your career ends up, do you think you'll be able to look back and say exactly like that? Well, this is the stage I belonged on, so it's quite fitting that that's where I started.
Yeah, I think definitely. I've dreamt of this since I was a kid, and it's not a shock to me that I'm here because I always knew that if I worked hard, this is where I was going to be.
Why has it always been your dream? And from how young?
Have to be as long as I can remember. As long as I can remember. I always played footy though. I boxed a little bit on the side, like in the off season, but I never took it fully seriously. But I just knew that I was meant to be a fighter. I was fighting on the footy field. I was fighting at school. I was just born to be a fighter, and I loved the lifestyle.
Yeah.
My stepdad was a professional boxer, so I seen what he would do, and I just loved it.
So when did you make that decision that footy's done, boxing's me?
So it was the off season of footy, and I went to the boxing gym where Benny was at, our first gym at Kabingai. And one day he asked, "Do you want to be a fighter?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then so we had the trials to make it into the fighters class, and I made it in. And then I was in there for a bit, and he goes, "You're not playing footy next year, eh?" And I was like, "Nah." And that's when I made the decision. When he asked me, I was like, "Nah." And then so I fully committed to boxing.
And was it just a natural thing? Once you were in boxing, you thought, well, why haven't I been just doing this all my life?
Yeah, exactly. It was, 100%.
And you had a lot of success as an amateur?
Yeah, I went okay in the amateurs. I was, at the start, I was just, that kid that just tried really hard, and I didn't have much boxing ability, but the fighter in me was there. And so it took a while to develop in the amateurs. I feel like it didn't really click for me until I turned pro, and that's when boxing really started to click, and I started to get it.
Turned pro relatively young, what, 18, 19?
Yeah, 18, yeah.
At 18 years of age. Why the decision to go pro then at such a young age?
We just felt like it was more suited to my style, and in the amateurs we were just changing too many things to try and box in an amateur style when we shouldn't be wasting our time when we're just going to go back to my natural style when I turn pro.
And have you been surprised in the pros, the progression that you've made? Because I said it's been a meteoric rise. I said from national titles, Australasian titles, IBO, regional titles. It's all happened very fast.
Yeah, I have been surprised actually, just at the way my boxing has developed. I never thought that I would be like a really good boxer. I thought that I would just be, walk people down and be tough. But now, since I turned pro, I've really learned to box and use my jab and set things up. And it has surprised me that I've come this far.
And I think the evidence of that was 4 or so. I think it might have been you fought for an Australian title, a 10-rounder. Like 10 rounds is a long time for an inexperienced fighter. And you handled it from the outside looking in like you'd been doing it your whole life.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest test so far. And what a lot of people don't know is I tested positive for COVID 12 days out from that fight. So, by the time I tested negative, it was only like 5 or 6 days out from the fight. And I was feeling pretty rough. So I was kind of nervous going into it. But yeah, as soon as I was in the ring, all that went away and I come good and my head cleared and my lungs were fine. And yeah, I think I was just meant to be there.
Is the exciting thing, in your opinion, for you, is using that as an example? The longer the rounds go, it is the better Vegas Larfield goes. We haven't really, except for that fight against Luke Martin, had a chance to see you over, more than 3 rounds?
Yeah. That's the only fight that I've been outside of the 3 rounds. So I do think that is where I'll shine and where I'll really show Australia who I am.
How long away is that? When are we going to see the big step? Because you are still only relatively young and learning your craft, but at the same time wanting that challenge to take the next step.
I want the big fights now. I feel like I'm ready. I want to keep progressing, and obviously I'll leave all that stuff to my team. I've got my trust in them, and I think they'll do it the right way. But yeah, I'm ready now, and I want the big fights. To start coming this year.
Are you impatient? Like you want it now, or?
I'm not impatient. I'm really embracing the process. Yeah. I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying the ride. I only get one shot at it, so I just got to sit back and enjoy it sometimes. But yeah, I definitely not getting impatient, but I'm definitely keen for the big fights to start coming.
But do you really feel 7 fights in now? Now's the time when you say, hey, look, let's rocket ship progression this. Let's step it up.
I think so. Yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I've taken the right fights so far. This next one is obviously a big step, and yeah, I think I'm ready to start. Taking them big fights.
So you've got a big team and a great team there that handles this sort of things. But in your mind, the fighter, what's it look like for you? What do you want to see, or what are you hoping will happen in the next few years?
I'm not too sure. I want big fights. I want to start, moving my way up to start main eventing my own cards. I want to, get big fights that, will please Australia, and yeah.
And is that what those experiences, being at MGM, being at what's called Country Bank Stadium in Townsville, gave you that feel of like, wow, this, I don't want to be the first fight. I want to be the last fight here.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it definitely did. And I feel like every card that I fight on that I'm not the main event, in my own mind, I am the main event. And, everyone's coming to watch me. So, all eyes on me.
How was that experience, MGM? So you worked with the Maloney brothers and you got a chance to fight on that card over there. We know they're standing, of course, in boxing. What did that do for you? That was your second or third pro fight?
Yeah, second fight. It done so much because I stayed over there with them in Vegas for 6 weeks, and I watched how they train. I watched how they eat. I watched how they, done media. I watched how they done everything, and I really learnt a lot. I wrote it all down in a book, and really documented the whole trip. And I feel like it just done so much for my career to see at the top level what needs to be done. And when I came back home, I really have started to implement that into what I do now.
So you're a real student of the game as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a student. All I do is watch boxing. In between sessions, I'm at home watching boxing. I'm studying. I'm trying to progress in every sense.
How far are we off seeing the finished product of Vegas Larfield, in your opinion?
I think we're a long way off. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. There's a lot of hard work to go, but I've got the right people around me, and I'm doing all the right things, and I will be there.
I say this with respect to the fighters you fought, but do you in your mind feel like you've been tested yet?
No. With all due respect to my opponents, I don't think I've been tested yet. I think Luke Martin was my biggest test. I feel like I handled it with ease though.
And that's what's exciting for big picture of where you want to be and where you think you can go.
Yeah, no, definitely. We have seen nowhere near my best. I haven't been able to display it yet. And yeah, I just can't wait to.
Coach-fighter relationship's so important. What's Ben Harrington mean to you?
Benny's everything to me. He's been there from day one. He's always believed in me. Every loss I had in the amateurs, he looked at me and said, "Don't worry, you'll be there when it counts." And at the time I didn't understand it, but now that I'm an adult, I get it, and he's right, and I will be there.
So he said that to you. He said, "You'll be there when it counts."
He's always said to me, "You'll be there when it counts." He said, "Don't worry about this stuff."
So what does that mean to you now? When you said like back then you didn't quite understand what do you think that means now?
Yeah, so now it's just like it didn't matter back then. I was a kid in amateurs, but it matters now. Like these wins matter now. So yeah.
You're in a gym of champions. Does that help your progression as well, seeing what's going on around you?
Yeah, 100%. Liam Wilson's been in the gym since I was 12 or 13, and just to have someone like him to look up to in the gym, and someone to, you know, spar with and, you know, knock my head off every now and again, you know, it's helped me progress. Like I owe a lot of my progression to Liam, because, you know, he's always been there for me as a friend and as a fighter. And yeah, the gym is packed with talent at the moment, so I'm grateful of that.
So that's your family at the gym. You mentioned family at home, so you've got a family history of being in boxing, so that it's like, you know, you're just following a tradition.
Yeah, 100%. It's a brotherhood at the gym. We're all family there.
And personally, with your own family, so you see your stepfather was a professional boxer?
Yeah, I don't have too much to do with him anymore, but when I was a kid, you know, I was around that lifestyle.
So you're sort of born into it, or
I'm born into this, you know. I'm born to be a fighter, and yeah, I'm going to fight for the rest of my life.
And what does it mean to you when you look at where your career has got so far, and people talk about Vegas Larfield as, you know, this is one young guy, you know, one of the top prospects we have in this country?
It means a lot to hear those things, to see that my dreams are coming to a reality. Even though we're nowhere near finished, I'm still able to sometimes appreciate where I am, and yeah, really, really love the fact that I'm making a name for myself.
And for yourself, when you're away from boxing, what do you do? Or are you just all boxing?
Man, most of the time it's just all boxing, but when I'm away from it, I like to spend time with my girlfriend, you know, my family, my friends, yeah.
But boxing is what keeps the flame burning?
Boxing is what keeps the flame going. It's what keeps me sane. You know, I need boxing.
Yeah. And how much has the progression of your career changed you as a person in your life? So you've mentioned how much boxing is what about as a person?
I think it's made me such a better person, like coming into the sport of boxing and knowing that, you know, if you want to be the best at something, you've got to work hard. And I've really taken that into not only boxing, but into life. You know, you've got to work hard to get to where you want to go.
And do you also want to be that role model for other young people coming through? You talked about your gym with so many people there. There's the opportunity where, you know, you can impact others. Yeah,
100%. I'm really passionate about being a role model for the young kids and being there for them, and, you know, being like a big brother to them.
And they'll be there to support you on the 1st of April. There'll be a big Vegas Larfield team in support, I'm guessing?
Yeah, 100%. They'll all be out there, you know, supporting me, which I love, and I do the same for them.
And what's big picture? What's some fights there that you want? Dream fights for Vegas Larfield down the track?
I don't know, eh?
Yeah.
Dream fight, I think Nail Inoue. He's probably a dream fight for me. I think he's the best. He was the best at bantamweight. He's just moved up to super bantam, so I think that's probably a dream fight. And, you know, it would be cool to avenge Jason Maloney's loss. You know, that would be cool.
But you do think about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I definitely do think about that. I'm always watching the top guys. I'm watching all the guys in the top 15 rankings in my division. I'm always doing my study, and yeah, I think that would be my dream fight.
And that is the next step for you. You're like, okay, I want to get into these top 15s, and I want to have my name in there, and I want to be in the mix. Yeah,
100%. I hope this year we start trying to take some fights to get into the rankings, and yeah.
So that's why this one is. You got a fighter in your way here. It's a must-win step.
Yeah, this is a must-win step, and it is a real test. So yeah, my best will be showing up on Saturday night.
All the best on the 1st.
Thanks, mate.